wasn't a very good day for the Washington Redskins. And let's hope that they'll recover on Sunday when they play against the Chargers. Maybe it was an AFC team or something. I'm hoping that they can redeem themselves come Sunday.
Wasn't a big jinx that Troy Aikman was doing the game, the former Cowboy?
I think Troy was a queer.
You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And we apologize for any of you who listened to our recap show. We had technical errors. The show was unplayable. And wow, you missed something. I mean, we disparaged blacks, Native Americans, the Jewish people, most Muslims. I mean, if we'd run that show, it probably would have been lawsuits, hate, defamation. we just were out of control.
That was just Marlon's side.
Oh, well, exactly.
Speak for yourself. That was just you.
You were just hating women, man. That was your problem.
My hands are clean.
No, you had some bad things to say about women.
Yeah, but they deserve it.
Well, exactly. Oh, and let's not forget the homosexual gay community. They certainly were in for a lot there.
LGBT.
Exactly. That quote at the start was Dexter Manley, a coked-up, illiterate former Washington Redskin, which is just so crazy, the intolerance that organization is getting into.
Yeah, but I was reading in regards to the Redskins, and we'll get back to the Manley thing just because this popped into my head. What's going to happen is more media outlets are going to start dropping the name. So they'll just be Washington. The Redskins will have no power, and then they'll change it. But I think that's wrong. Why can't we, in this world, not have to be so fucking politically correct?
Redskins crosses the line, man. I disagree with you. Redskins does cross the line. Well, Braves, Blackhawks. I mean,
but how come they're not doing it? How come there's no they're only going after football? I don't see anybody picketing outside the Braves games. They do the fucking tomahawk chop.
Well, they did back in the day. The last time I saw this happen in the early 90s, they did picket the tomahawk chop, which...
Yeah, but what did it change? Where did that go?
Well, the problem is Braves. Braves is not disparaging. Redskins is.
Well, so what about the Chief Wahoo in Cleveland? Well, you can't have one.
Wildly freaking offensive, and they've got to change that. Chief Wahoo, like, to hell with the Redskins. At least there is a proud chief on their jersey. Chief Wahoo is so freaking insulting. It's tough to believe it exists.
No, but okay, so tradition be damned. You've been called it. It's not like they set out. When you put a team name on, you're not trying to be racist, I don't think.
No, and I don't think the Redskins are trying to be racist, but it's time to switch.
When we have to look at the era it was created in.
Well, and this is the team that was, when it was owned by Marshall, was the instigator of the no blacks in sports rule. This was a racist team and a racist organization. I say divorce yourself from... If you're saying tradition... Oh, I know, but they were the worst.
No,
they were
by
far the worst. Bad? No, Marshall and his wife supported Aryan causes and did not believe blacks should vote.
Well, the Red Sox were the last team to have a black player on their roster.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Integration. So no, we can't just pick and choose where we want to fucking sanction people.
But there is no sanction. Let the market determine. Let the market determine. And
it's not, though. The market's not determining it. The market doesn't determine fuck all anymore. Special interest groups determine fucking everything. That's what I have a problem with.
In this case,
majority. It's never the majority.
If I were a Native American, I find Redskins offensive. I did not find Braves offensive. Yes, it's connotation. Yes, there's some picking and choosing going on there. But Redskins, like, you know, would you think a cricket team called the Coolies in India would fly?
Take it in the spirit in which it was invented.
Okay, so Daniel Schneider, you know, went into Vietnam and his new baseball team was the Gooks. It's
okay, so where do we draw the line? So every team has to be. What about the Raptors? Are they insulting to fucking
dinosaurs? You know, that's a ridiculous argument.
Dinosaurs? Like, where do we? What's no? But where? Okay, but where's the line? Where's the special interest line stop? Because this goes back to even Dexter Manley. Like, he's clearly laughing when he calls Troy Aikman a queer.
Oh yeah, that's just typical dumb jock conversation.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and he's never coming on the radio again.
No, but he's vilified.
And
was it a bad joke? Yes.
It was a terrible joke and done in poor taste with a lack of awareness of the context.
Okay, now, how did this all change? Wasn't the gay slogan back in the day, "We're here, we're queer"? Now we can't say it? They used it as a rallying cry, for Christ's sake.
Well, and that is the pattern. Is that, if you're not one of us, you can't use our words, which I find bullshit. Language is universal. If queer is acceptable to the homosexual community and nigger is acceptable to the black community, fucking destroy the power of the word. Right there. It's then acceptable to everyone, and then the word loses all meaning.
Right. But that's the thing with the Redskins.
But you don't. But Native Americans do not refer to each other as Redskins. No, that's the difference here.
No, but Marlon, do we not believe when they created the team that it was meant to honor? Would you put a team name that you're not proud of on your fucking helmet? I don't know. Like, where's the line? The line keeps moving and getting smaller and smaller. You're backed into a corner where you can't use anything. That's my problem. The fucking name means nothing to me. Like, it doesn't. They could call them the Washington fucking Napsters. I don't give a shit. It's more to the fact...
Hey, and actually, you may be prescient in that. Ultimately, all teams will be named after their corporate overlords.
Well, it'll happen eventually.
Well, and I guess there's a precedent for that, too. I mean, the Green Bay Packers are an example of a name based on the company that sponsored them.
Okay, but what determines where we stop with this? What is not offensive to someone? Someone can be offended over everything.
Yes. In this case, though, I think there's a valid point.
Yes, but we lose sight of where the name was created and the time it was created. It's not like he just put this out there now. And I don't think you should be blackmailed into doing something you don't want to do.
Well, if your name's Daniel Schneider, I'd like to see you blackmailed into anything, because he, by the way, calls anti-Semitism upon any attack upon him. If anyone says that Daniel Schneider, who pretty much by all accounts is an asshole, if they call him an asshole, he says it's because he's a Jew. So you can't play it both ways there.
Yeah, but he's not. It's not the same thing.
No, it is.
Dan Snyder's not going out and saying the Redskins are assholes. He bought the team.
What if they were called the Foreskins?
Who's going to be offended with that? Oh, there'd be thousands of people offended by that. The problem is, as long as you keep giving power to the people that come up with this shit, they're going to keep taking stuff. That's all I'm for. The word may be offensive to people, but you can find something offensive in everything.
No,
everything.
But some words have more power than others. And Redskins, which specifically target... I think the name is too wrong. I mean, you know, Shelley's with you.
What was the history of the name? Why did they choose that name?
Well, actually, it was a Boston name.
But why did they choose the name? What was the name choosing done by? Like, who created it, and why did they choose that?
I honestly have no idea. There may have been some association with Jim Thorpe.
But was it to honor Native Americans?
Well, you don't usually name your team after something that you disparage.
That's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. And it's not like it's a caricature of an Indian chief on their helmet.
Well,
like
no.
Chief Wahoo.
Oh, Chief Wahoo. Okay, let's at least agree on this. Chief Wahoo is motherfucking offensive to me.
Yes. But until they stop calling the Cleveland Indians the tribe and the Florida State Seminoles have a fucking guy dressed up in Indian garb,
the tribe doesn't have the connotations
the
of Redskin.
Marlon, they're going to keep taking and taking and taking and taking. The special interest groups take till there's nothing left. You can't say retarded. You can't say queer. You can't what's left? Like, you can't use queer in a joke.
Even though it was the term that a certain portion of the culture decided to use to apply to themselves. Yeah, no, that's where it's ridiculous. But in this specific case, no Native American greets each other with, "Hey, Redskin."
No, they don't.
No Asian greets a fellow member, "Hey, Slant." You know, there are some words that cross the pale. And I understand your argument that if you give up to all of this, but sometimes the word is not used by the allegedly disparaged group. And sometimes the word just has to go away. And I think Redskin's one of those words.
I strongly disagree.
All right.
We're losing all concept of tradition and history, and if somebody can prove to me that the name was put on there to disparage, then I want all Native American names off of sports teams. If the Redskins got to go, they all got to fucking go. All of them. No more riding in on a horse in Florida State and chucking the fucking spear in the ground at the start of the game. No more tomahawk chop. No more Chief Wahoo. No more Blackhawks. No more fuck all. All gone. Okay? Now.
It's about the destruction of the language. You're right. I agree with you. But
So the Moose Jaw Canucks, is that offensive? The Canucks? Portland Winterhawks?
Fucking lootly.
Like, where do we start?
I'm a Canuck, and, they had a pedophile coaching that team. I want nothing to do with that.
No, that was the Broncos, so we can't call them that because that's offensive to horses. They don't go around calling themselves horses. No, I'm sick of the fucking politically correct minority telling us what we can say and can't say. Because what happened to Paula Deen was a fucking minority. And it wasn't even the black community that wanted her fucking destroyed. It was the fucking guilty white conscience that wanted her destroyed. Oh, I'd never say that word.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to remember the guest I heard on Corolla at one point, and he's just going, you know what? We blacks don't actually give two shits if Paula Deen said nigga. We just assume it.
Well, and like that was awful. And that's what scares me where we're headed, because we keep going further and further and further down that path, and there's no turning back.
All right, you've swayed me on this argument, Boyd.
So that's...
No, you swayed me because it makes the language boring.
No, but
it's my same argument about obscenity. If you refuse to allow any expletives, you make the language duller. And taking all of the language duller.
Yes, but you have to take these things on a contextual basis. You can't just carpet bomb the word. Like if a comedian wants to tell a joke on stage and use the word queer, I'm okay with that.
The ridiculous...
But if you're standing in front of a gay crowd and calling them queers, you know how it's intended to be used. You know the context of it. That I have a problem with.
Well, and that's the thing. This is a dead word to begin with. And it wouldn't exist without... It. Well, exactly, and that's why it could be eliminated without any real damage to the language.
No, but in the past, people used to say, oh, he's a little queer, like peculiar.
Oh, no, but let's talk about Redskins. It's so obscure a word that it could be eliminated without actually causing the language to suffer.
No, I know, but then what? See, but now we've got...
Well, have you noticed that most of this, in fact, very little of this is driven by actual living, breathing Native Americans?
No, I know. But that's what I was going to say. Now we've got the media determining what you can call a team. They're boycotting using the name. Where were these cocksuckers when they wouldn't let women into Augusta?
Well, and as far as I know, women still make about 75 cents on the dollar.
I know, but where's that? Like, we have all these issues, and they pick and choose. This is like the cause du jour.
Well, yeah, because it's an easily winnable cause. And you're 100% right on that. The only reason this cause is here is because they can defeat one single entity. Who happens
when did
to
the
be
media start becoming the moral authority, too? Like Bill Simmons is doing it. Oh, I refuse to call them the Redskins. Fucking San Francisco Chronicle is stopping using the name Redskins. Like, okay, so it's your job to tell me what I can read and what I can't read now, when you're supposed to be reporting the fucking news.
Well, there's no news.
I know, it's opinion
that all
now.
stopped 15 years ago.
No, we could do the news now. Because ours is just opinion.
Yeah. Hey.
And that's what we get on the news. All right. Well, that's okay. So that's enough of that.
Yeah.
That's your Boyd Rage post for this week.
With an assist. All right. Ostensibly, we're about football. We profited this week. Yeah, it was. We profited this week a tiny amount. We made $3.
Woo!
Probably with our best bet of the year. Maybe the best bet we've made. Just taking the money line, Giants over. When we talked about it in the podcast, we'd considered hedging if Vic played, but for several reasons, Sunday morning we didn't want to hedge. We still like the Giants. They're just a better team than the Eagles. We cashed that. We lost on KC, which was a bet neither of us were crazy about. I still say KC is the softest undefeated team I've ever seen.
Well, I don't think they're soft. Their defense is really good. They don't have any playmakers outside of Jamal Charles.
They've played 4 backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, but look at the teams in the league. Indy's the only one that's played anybody.
KC isn't bad. I'm not saying they suck. I just don't
But don't say that. Don't bring up that stat. Then you got to bring up the whole other issue of the teams that haven't played anybody. Denver hasn't beaten anybody.
No, most
Seattle
teams
hasn't
haven't
really
beaten anybody. The
other
only
than San
team that's
Francisco.
beaten anybody is Indy.
Yeah. And they're
Short.
We'll get to that in our next podcast. But
you know, we missed on that one. And Seattle. One of the worst football games I've seen in 5 years. I'm not kidding you.
They're not a good team. I don't think they're a good team.
It was agony. And then I went to the NFL Network, and they were trying to say, oh, that turned into a pretty good one. No, what were you watching? The only thing of value I saw in that entire telecast was the Matt Stafford audio, which I'd really hoped to be able to capture for our next podcast. That was the only thing that made that 3.5 hours of absolute purgatory enjoyable. That was the only thing I enjoyed in that entire fucking game. One of the worst football games I've ever seen. And that was Seattle on the road versus a bad team.
So what's Seattle going to do now for receivers? Are they still going to preach patience with Percy Harvin?
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm going, it's like, oh, once Percy Harvin's in there, everything will be fantastic. Oh, let me talk about Percy Harvin for a second. He was a slot receiver, multi-use guy who benefited from receivers who could clear out the sides. Does Seattle have any of those things? Percy Harvin's a good football player, but he's a Wes Welker with speed. You know, he's only 2 ticks above fucking Danny Woodhead.
And they don't have anybody, like you said, they have nobody to take attention away from him. They have no tight end that I can think of. They have Doug Baldwin at wide receiver. Sidney Rice out with a knee. Harvin's going to help them more in the return game than anything, but I don't know how they're winning in the playoffs.
This is like waiting for Godot, you know? This hero savior is going to come. News for you, not ever coming. And like Denver, suddenly those injuries at tackle are being exposed. It took a couple of weeks, but now all of a sudden you see that Seattle has no functional O-line. St. Louis utterly dominated on the line in that game. I believe 7 sacks. And there probably would have been more, except Russell Wilson will run like a frightened little puppy occasionally and escape, or a greased pig, something like that. He's not an accurate thrower. No, Seattle's not that fucking good.
No, if it wasn't for their defense, they're a 500 team.
And their home field.
Nah,
I don't defense. Even... The defense is really good, but the defense...
Well, they've won 2 games on the road.
The defense got gashed 110 yards on the ground by the team that hasn't scored a rushing TD all year in the Rams. That doesn't scream to me awesome defense with a backup quarterback at the helm. The Rams should have won that game. They dominated that game. Like, I watched every agonizing minute of that piece of shit. And St. Louis was the better team all fucking day. That was a fluke win for the Seahawks.
Oh, I'm not disputing that fact.
Well, no, I didn't think you were disputing anything. But like, seriously, that was, Seattle is not good. They're good. They're not really good. And if they don't get home field through the playoffs, they're not going to the Super Bowl. If they do, they're going to get to the Super Bowl and lose to a much more well-rounded team from the AFC.
Well, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. Like, the trade deadline passed today. They didn't upgrade anything at receiver. Who do you fear in the receiving corps unless?
Well, again, it's all this promise. Back. Oh, Percy Harvin is coming soon. Percy Harvin is coming soon. You know what? He's a damn fine football player. He does not change a team the way a Calvin Johnson does. Like, he really doesn't. He's a slot receiver with ridiculous speed. Shady McCoy in Philadelphia hasn't changed it. Neither has Deshaun. Those are the comparable skill sets there.
But the thing that saves them, though, is their defense usually makes one or two big plays, either a turnover or a fumble, causes a fumble somehow, a pick. Like the pick that set up the touchdown last night.
Yeah. And I was screaming
game
for him to score on that play because I had literally no confidence that the offense could move the ball 6 yards.
Yeah, no, I know.
Do you know what this reminds me of? The Bears under Lovie Smith. That defense would get turnovers and do all that, and the offense would do nothing. How many Super Bowls?
Yeah, but you need balance. Now they're the opposite. They can score points and they can't stop anybody.
I'm not saying the Bears are great, but I'm just saying. And how well did the Bears fare under Lovie Smith with lucky turnover margins? Because that's what it got. I mean,
yeah, but
you got this. You were playing the backup quarterback for the Rams.
Yeah, but there's one team you can compare it to: the Ravens, when they won a Super Bowl. Or no, there's two: the Steelers when they beat Seattle in the Super Bowl. They had no offense.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. It's like, and I'm not writing them out either. And if they get home field, but I really don't think. Yes, they're saying, "Oh, we went on the road." You beat the Rams on the road with their backup quarterback. Like, fuck off.
Now, I think we need to go over one thing we did last night in our disparaging podcast. We need to...
Let's just call it racist.
Well, if that's how you feel about yourself, have at it. We did our top 5 team list, and I think we're going to add that each week.
Yeah, let's finish that
in our recap.
Let's finish this off with our main rankings, for lack of a better term.
Now, I go with Indy number 1.
Already
San Francisco number 2. Pardon me?
You already changed that from last night.
Did I?
Yeah, you had Niners number 1. You had Niners number 1.
San Fran number 1, because yes, I do think they're the best team right now on all sides of the football. Special teams might need a little help on the return game, but running the ball, defense, which you need in January, is playing the best of anybody in football right now. And Indy's had the best strength of schedule in my mind so far. They beat 3 top teams. So we go San Fran, Indy. Now, why can't I remember how I had this? I think I had Kansas City 3, Denver 4, and Seattle 5.
Okay.
And I think Seattle's on the bubble at 5.
So I think.
But they'll probably win their next home game by 30, so...
And I'll say the same thing I said to you last night. No New Orleans?
No.
Okay. I go Indy top. It's quality of wins. I know the Chargers beat them. I don't know how that happened. It still delights me, but I think Indy is probably the most well-rounded team in football. I actually dropped New Orleans in there at 2. Signature win, Chicago on the road. I like that win a lot. That was a tough win versus what was at that stage a tough team. The defense hadn't absolutely been decimated by injuries. They hadn't been strafed by the machine gun. Then I go San Francisco. Then Denver. 5th spot's a tough one because, wow, it's really a cesspool of choices.
So the 8.
I guess I will reluctant. Pardon?
The 8-0 team you're not going to put in?
No. No, I'd take Seattle.
See, I could swap out New Orleans for Seattle. But New Orleans isn't a good road team either.
Not particularly, but they've gotten enough done on the road thing. I really don't buy KC at this stage. They've played so many games against backup quarterbacks, and they've won them by 3 to 5 points.
I would even drop Denver out to put New Orleans in.
Good team. The other team I honestly was considering for 5 was personal podcast favorite, Carolina.
No, you're crazy. They're not. They might be top 10 at the back of the top 10.
They're starting to look good, man. And I mean, you can say quality wins. How about quality losses?
Yeah, but is Seattle a quality loss?
Yeah.
They
On the first week
passing.
of the season, yes, I think it was physical. Everyone was geared to go. I think that's quality loss.
No, other than my top.
Let's
2,
see. I mean, Carolina doesn't have a legitimate win against a good team, but they are utterly taking care of business with their weak opposition, and that's something most of these teams are lacking.
Out of the top
what you
5?
do is you should crush your opponents by 17 plus when they are pussies.
Yeah, but New Orleans doesn't have a signature win. New Orleans doesn't have a signature win. San Fran doesn't really have a signature win.
Well, and that's why I have India at the top of my rankings.
But no, every team in our top 5 has holes.
Yeah.
There's no dominant team. Denver can be beat by running the football on them. Their defense, when everybody thought Von Miller comes back, they're to watch out. They haven't beaten anybody. If they can beat
and
KC,
if the Shanahans don't fucking shit the bed in the second half there, they bear. And Dave, who I work with today, and he's just going, why didn't they run the ball in the second half? He's a Denver fan. and he was perplexed.
Yeah, well, the Shanahans are geniuses.
All right. We're recording 2 tonight, so we have farther to go here.
All right. So if you want to check out our podcast, search us out on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device. You can listen to it on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Lines for any new podcasts or blog post updates. Facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you'd like to contact us, you can send us an email, offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I want to throw in a plug here. I've started writing a column. A new one will be up Friday. Just want to say, check out our website. It's not going to be long, but it's going to be about my frustration with the NFL. If you don't mind me throwing in that plug.
Fuck your plugs. Ruining my outro. I was going to say extra. No, I'll put that in the outro for the next one, buddy.
Okay.
Good catch by you.
No problem. You are
Boyd.
I'm Marlon.
You are.
And that was Offensive Lines.
Generous fucking gambler.
Red.